So let's really get into this. I was fortunate enough to see a SAR swimmer up close and personal when I had to jump out of an F-14 700 miles west of San Diego
Oh, wow.
at night
Okay.
in really bad weather.
Hmm.
So it was a Navy SAR swimmer, but I wasn't injured, but it sure was nice to see that swimmer coming
Yes.
down the wire. And, he hooked me up, get me into the helicopter, deflated my raft, all that good stuff. So take us out on one of those dark, bad nights and tell us about a typical rescue you might have conducted. What does it feel like? And,
Do you guys want like a crazy story, or do you guys just want like
yeah,
a typical
we'll take two crazy
Okay,
stories or
all
more.
right. So this happened in this was not a typical case. We had a lot of stuff go wrong. So we got this was out of Atlantic City, New Jersey. We got launched to a scallop boat that was about 50 miles offshore to somebody who had a compound fracture of their lower leg. I was very new at this time. I was about 3 years in being an actual swimmer. So with medevacs, we have to talk to a flight surgeon, which is somebody which is a Coast Guard qualified medical doctor to say hoist or don't hoist them, or like you guys can fly out or don't fly out, or just basically it's the warm and fuzzy to go get somebody. Um, at this time, I didn't know that you could question them or even do any of that stuff. So they said, go hoist. And I said, yes, let's go do that. Also very new in my career. And I just wanted to do everything and go down and just try to be a hero as much as I possibly could. So we get launched out there. I have done a few scallop boat cases, and I don't know if you've seen a scallop boat, but they've got outriggers and just like a bunch of lines. And in the back, there's like a shucking shack. So when we go out and hoist, it's we we try to hoist to the aft part of a boat, so our helo can have the pilot sits in the right seat, so they can have view of like how we actually fly. So they have reference of the boat to keep the helo in a good spot. Now, if there's no safe place to hoist in the front, or sorry, in the aft part of the ship, you have to hoist from the bow, and it's very challenging because there's no reference. So it's very hard to like maintain a nice solid hover. Um, Knowing that I had been out to a few scalpel cases, nobody else in the crew had. So I was trying to explain to them like, hey, I don't know if we'll have a good place to hoist. They said, we'll get on scene and we'll try it. So they tried to lower me down to the boat about 3 different times, but there's too many lines. And the possibility of me getting entangled was too high. So they ended up dropping me off in the water. A few little stats here for you. It was like 30 knots of wind, 12-foot seas. The water temperature was about
Cold.
36 degrees, and the air temp was about 34 degrees. So yeah, it was just a cold night. So I ended up swimming to the boat. I had to like time it because they dropped a rope down for me to like try to climb up, but I had to like time a wave to like hit the rope because the rope wasn't long enough, obviously. So end up trying to like do this weird climb up on the boat, get on scene, and the guy definitely has a broken leg. Again, in my brain, being very new, I was like, we have to hoist him. That's what they said. So we have two devices to actually. We have more than two, but like two big ones. We have our normal basket, and then we have a litter. So this guy couldn't walk, so I was going to put him in a litter, which is like a hoistable stretcher. Um, so there was no really safe place to do it, so we decided to hoist him from the bow of the ship. So I packaged him up, and I remember talking to them and to the helo, and I was like, "Hey guys, like it's really bad down here. Like these are pretty big, so let's try to do this as swift as possible." They get the cable to me, nice hoisting area at the bow of the ship. Not a big area, but like it was just smooth, like straight up. There was no um, wires out, and everything starts going smooth. We start hoisting them up. The boat rolls down on a nice 12-foot wave, like just boom, like this. The helo kind of shoots over. The guy gets wrapped around something and the cable parts, and the guy goes overboard into the water.
Oh,
Um, so while this is happening, like while he's going up, the swing of him cracks me in the head. This was before it was required we were to wear helmets. This case might have changed some of that. So I get cracked in the head, like laying down on the deck, and I don't see him anymore. What I think happens is when we have an entangled cable, we have a squib at the cable so they can shear it off right there. So I thought that's what happened. I thought our crew sheared it. So I run to the back of the boat, throw on my fins and my mask, and I just dive in, thinking that they had sheared and I have to go grab this guy immediately. Um, when the boat's like steaming, so like when you hoist in big seas, you have to have the boat going like almost full throttle. So like we had a sizable gap between where he was and where I was. um it was pretty strong current that night as well, so I ended up, I don't remember swimming it at all. It was about 250 300 yards. um was swimming just in a direction. The helicopter had came around and just shined their spotlight straight down, so I knew where to actually swim to. Um, when I get there, we have floats on our litter, so it's so if this ever happens, or if we have to use a litter in the water, it floats. There was so much cable that it was dragging him down. So like when I got to him, he was like right here in the water. And he's completely strapped down like this, so like he can't move at all. So he was just like completely strapped in. So I end up kind of swimming on top of him, swimming into the waves. They weren't breaking; it was just like nice big rollers. So
swells.
yeah,
Yeah.
swells. So just like all EMT training out the window. I slap him in the face as hard as I can about 2 times. His eyes shoot open. He throws up water right in my face. I'm like, yes, he's breathing. Like that's all I can think about. Like he's not dead. He's breathing. Um, so I try to like level him out. His eyes are this big. Of course, there is a language issue. He didn't speak English, and I didn't speak Mandarin. So I'm just kind of like trying to say, "Are you okay?" or "Are you okay?" And I kind of like just to see if the litter was actually floating. He kept being dragged under. So it dawned on me as I'm getting hit in the leg with the cable. My brain automatically goes, "Oh no, we're surrounded by sharks as well. This is awful." So that didn't happen. It was actually the cable. So I had to swim under him, kind of like get him up out of the water while untangling the cable. And then I dropped that down, and then he was floating really good. So again, thinking that we had no usable cable or hoist left, I thought it was a good idea to try to swim him and the litter in the seas back to the boat. So I start making zero progress because of the seas, and is somebody in a litter, and it's very hard to tow them that with that current. And then I look up and the boat's gone. I was like, okay. So I get out the radio and I start talking to the helicopter, and nobody's answering me. Yeah, I just like they're dealing with everything that had just happened to them as well, right? So nobody's talking to me. And then I think we were in the water for 13 minutes or something like that. And then the cable comes down with what we call a quick splice. So it's basically like a backup hook that we can wrap the cable around, and it interlocks on itself. You just have to make sure it's routed correctly or else it'll slip through. So they send that down to me, and I put all my weight that I can on it and just like do this. It doesn't budge. I was like, awesome. So I get him hooked up, send him up. I go up, and at the time I didn't know this, but the cable had came up and hit our blades. And this is right after, so a few months after we had a awful crash in Hawaii where the cable parted, went up in the blades, and we lost 4 crew members. In Hawaii, it was the 6505. And so this was a really big deal that it had hit. So we are flying back, no weird vibes, no weird anything. And I'm just working my tail off, trying to like warm up this guy, keep him conscious and breathing. Um, so we land on top of the Atlantic City Hospital, and we land there. We drop him off. Everybody's adrenaline is kind of through. right now. Like this was just like there's supposed to be a routine case that just went absolutely chaotic. Um, just because we can't control Mother Nature, and so everybody's kind of in shock right now. I dropped him off to the actual doctors. I'm just like, all right, cool. Like they're fine. Hopefully he lives. Like he was alive when we dropped him off. Good. So myself and the flight neck are like looking at the blades. We kind of see some damage, but we um don't really know because it's like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. It's pitch black. So in that situation, because the cable hit the blades, we're supposed to shut down and wait for like an actual maintenance team to come inspect it all and say we need to, you know, change out the blades or whatever. So at this time, Light Flight tries to land on top of us. There's a team of doctors and people like this guy's got to go to Philly. He's gonna die. So we make the choice as a crew to fly the 10 miles back to get back in the helo, fly back and land back at home plate with everything said done. Obviously, it ended up being a pretty big mishap. We were greeted by our CEO at the time. It was not very happy with us with the last decision that we just made. But we thought that we had possibly saved another life by leaving the helipad. And it was a lot of paperwork after that. I'll just put it that way. So yeah.